Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by Boston Hemp Inc. Sunday, May the 12th. Ian Cameron with you. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I had forgotten, honestly, until this morning it was Mother's Day. But it is Mother's Day. Thank you to everyone for all the moms out there, especially the hockey mothers. We know what they do and what they sacrifice for their kids. So happy Mother's Day. We're looking forward to this Sunday card. Let's get right into the recap quickly for last night, the two games that we saw. Carolina Hurricanes, not on our home ice are we going to get swept. A nice job by them last night to avoid a 4-game sweep at the hands of the New York Rangers. Opportunistic, finally denting a little bit of the armor as far as Igor Shesterkin is concerned. 3 goals in the opening period. It was a crazy first period. 4 goals, 3 of them by Carolina in that opening period. Rangers battled back, though, 3-2. They tie it. Lafreniere banks one in off Freddie Anderson. The bank was open last night. But the Carolina Hurricanes, the penultimate moment of that game, 3-3 late in the third period. You get a late third period power play. You have to cash in on it. It is time for your power play to finally do something good for you. A power play that has been obviously a disaster in this series for the Carolina Hurricanes. Well, it finally converted at the most important time for the Carolina Hurricanes last night. Brady Shea, great point shot. Just tons of velocity, you could tell on that point shot through traffic. I don't think Shesterkin picked it up, but it was a hell of a point shot. It beats him. Carolina takes the lead, and finally the first power play goal of the series for the Carolina Hurricanes, and what a time for it. As they get the win, they showed some guts, and I figured they would. I mean, they're not going to want to go down quietly and, like that on home ice in 4 straight, and they at least extend this series back to Madison Square Garden in New York for Game 5. Now do they plant just a little seed of doubt because they finally beat Shesterkin? And by the way, in that 4-3 win last night, Carolina snapped what was a over 30 consecutive game streak for Igor Shesterkin of allowing 3 goals or less in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Think about how good this guy has been, that he has gone 30-plus games consecutively in the Stanley Cup playoffs without giving up more than 3 goals. That's how good he has been. That streak obviously came to an end last night. Credit to the Carolina Hurricanes for getting it done last night. And then the second game, Dallas and Colorado. What can you say about the Dallas Stars? I mean, well, we know they've been a great road team all year. We've talked about it all year. And another thing that we saw in that game last night for Dallas is, when they are locked in defensively, they can even shut down a very high-powered, very potent team like the Colorado Avalanche. And, early in the game, I thought, look, Colorado had chances. Unbelievable goaltending by Ottinger. Tremendous shot blocking by Chris Tanev. And defensive play as well. He saved like 2 goals, maybe even 3 in the first period alone last night, Chris Tanev, with just tremendous defensive positioning, getting body position, tying up sticks in front of the net. And obviously on the one Colorado power play in the first period, there was a wide open net for Nathan MacKinnon. And all he had to do was hit the net. Unfortunately, the road grader that was Chris Tanev was in the way, who blocked that shot. It was going to be a goal if not for that. Tanev saved a goal there. He was tremendous last night for the Dallas Stars defensively in that game. Colorado did carry the play in the second. They picked it up. Dallas kind of sitting back a little bit. Eventually they tied it 1-1, but then they get a big goal. And I mean a big goal, because when it was 1-1 after Colorado tied it, and that second period was dominated by the Avalanche, to get that wonderful Tyler Seguin goal, a wonderful feed by Dadonov to get the puck to him. 2-1 Stars with that late second period goal. It kind of stemmed the tide. It kind of, took some air out of the crowd and some of that Colorado push that they had in that second period. It was a huge, you talk about a timely goal. That's another thing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Timely goals. Goals when you can really take some air out of the opponent and the building, especially when you're on the road. That's, to me, what that Tyler Seguin goal to make it 2-1 did for Dallas. It really took some starch, out of the Colorado Avalanche. And then in the third period, I don't know if you can draw up, and I know Peter DeBoer can't draw up a better clinical, surgical, textbook defensive third period, how to protect a 1-goal lead on the road in the Stanley Cup playoffs than that. That was just beautiful from start to finish. They put a fucking wet blanket all over Colorado. I mean, you can count, maybe forget one hand, you can count on one finger how many great prime quality scoring chances the Colorado Avalanche had in the third period, down 2-1 in that game. It was a clinic. It was a shutdown clinic. And look, Dallas does not play this way typically, but I think what Peter DeBoer saw going into the third period, well, what he saw in game 1 and game 2 that made him change the way his team deployed themselves in the third period was 3-0 in game 1. We lost 4-3 in overtime, coughed up a 3-goal lead. We were up 4-0 in game 2. Yes, we did hang on and won 5-3, but we gave up, when it was 4-0, we gave up 3 consecutive goals, and it ended up being 4-3. We weren't tightening things up well enough, holding leads in the first 2 games in Dallas. One of those blown leads cost them a win, and the other nearly cost them a win. So, what they went to this 1-3-1. They're not a trap team, but in the third period, don't kid yourself. That was the trap. That's exactly what that was by the Dallas Stars. Again, they don't play this way normally, but you make adjustments based on the opponent, and they busted it out in the third period. It was neutral zone, left wing lock. It was 1-3-1 structure. It was trap. It was the trap, whatever you want to call it. That's what the Dallas Stars busted out in the third period, and they completely and utterly bamboozled, frustrated, flummoxed the Colorado Avalanche with that. I mean, they couldn't make a clear tape-to-tape pass through the neutral zone. They couldn't gain entry into the offensive zone cleanly, smoothly, whatsoever. I mean, it was just a nondescript third period for Colorado. And what makes that even more impressive is how many times have we seen Colorado in these third periods at home, especially when they're trailing, regular season, and even in the first round against Winnipeg, the tsunami hits you. And bam, tie game. Bam, another goal. Bam, another goal minute later. And it's just like a tidal wave of offense that Colorado just, erupts for in the third period. None of that last night. None of that. Just an absolutely outstanding defensive third period by the Stars. Ottinger wasn't tested a ton, but when he he made the saves. They cleared the puck out when they got the chance. There was very little inside ice for the Stars. Everything was to the periphery. And Dallas ends up with a big time, and I mean big time, 4-1 road win. To play like that in that building against that team, suffocate them in the third period, shut them down completely, and hold them to 1 goal, bravo. You deserve a pat on the back for that. That's just an outstanding job, no question, by the Dallas Stars last night. So a great job by them. And that's what made them all along, to me, the kind of team that can win a Stanley Cup this year. They've got the offense, they've got the 4 lines of depth. Their blue line is outstanding, and especially after getting Chris Tanev, they've got the goaltender, and they can play different ways, and they can win in different ways. They can win high scoring. They can shut it down. Last night was proof. Dallas can shut you down. Dallas can tighten things up and lock it down when they're on their game. And last night was proof of that. So a great job by Dallas to get the 2-1 series victory, 2-1 series lead, not victory. Let's not jump ahead yet. Still a long way to go. You're only halfway home, and this Colorado team probably will have a big response in Game 4. They don't want to go back to Dallas down 3-1, but that was a great win last night. Seguin finally starting to heat up after the puck wasn't going in for him. Now all of a sudden he gets 2 last night. He scored the game before. Great to see Logan Stankoven get a 2-goal game. Outstanding stuff from him. He was due. Great to see him get rewarded because his work ethic has been off the charts here in these playoffs. So Logan Stankoven, Tyler Seguin playing a starring role last night for the Dallas Stars in the Game 2 victory. All right, let's turn our attention to Sunday. We've got 2 games tonight, and we will begin with what has turned into a very cantankerous series between the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins. We've got Florida, we've got Florida minus 160 road favorites. The total here sitting at 5.5, pretty much across the board. I'm a little surprised that the price has climbed this much right now here on the Florida Panthers side. There's a lot of people obviously souring on what they saw from the Boston Bruins in Game 3. And it was bad. And we talked about this. I don't want to go over it again because we talked about this when we recapped Game 3 of this series. But how does Boston play that bad and start the game that pathetic? Really, I mean, they had, 8 shots on goal, 9 shots on goal by the early part of the third period. I mean, these slow starts and these starts where they look like they're disinterested. They aren't matching the intensity. They aren't matching the pace of the opponent early in these games. It's really, really surprising to me what we saw from the Bruins, especially when they got pumped in Game 2. Like Florida just beat them down in Game 2. You'd expect going back home to TD Garden for Game 3, you're going to get a response, and you didn't get a response. You got an absolutely awful start. And by the time they finally showed up, really for the first time all game, Boston really pushed hard and had Florida running around in their own zone. Was when they were down like 4-0 already, or 4. Yeah, it was 4-0 by that time. It was when Lauko got plowed into the goaltender, or lost his footing, went into the goaltender, and then he scored a few minutes later to make it 4-1. That was the first time all game Boston really had a push and a sustained amount of time where they had Florida running around. The first 2 periods, Florida was in complete control. Boston could barely muster a shot or muster any sort of offensive zone time in Game 3. So what will change tonight is the question. Boston's got to have a better start. You're not splitting the atom, figuring out that. And I think what you also have to factor in here for this game tonight is the absence of Brad Marchand, who is officially ruled out tonight for Bruins. And you're talking about the emotional leader, the captain of the team. What does that? Can Boston muster up? The energy and the ability to push back and punch back in this series against a damn good Florida Panthers team without Marchand on the ice? If you read everything that we're seeing from or hearing from the coaches and the players, especially on the Boston side, they're not happy with Sam Bennett. And obviously that's the headline story going into this game is the whole Sam Bennett-Brad Marchand incident, which is the incident we believe that Brad Marchand got injured in the other night in Game 3. There's this big debate going on that, that collision with Bennett and Marchand. And if you watch the thing live, and I remember seeing it live in Game 3 as I was watching, you just thought it was an unfortunate collision. Marchand took the worst of it. And, it's just an unfortunate way to get injured. But then, it's been, and obviously video of that incident's been circulating around social media the last 24 to 48 hours. If you slow it right down, obviously live, it looked like just a collision. 2 guys, banging against each other. That's what it looked like. Just 2 guys, colliding or ice there. But if you slow it down, it really slow it down frame by frame. It does look like there is a right swing of the fist by Sam Bennett on Brad Marchand there. And so it looks like now, look, was it did he connect flush with this, what it looked like a punch from Bennett to Marchand? No, but he still swung it, and it looked like it connected at least or grazed Marchand a little bit and maybe impacted his landing a little bit. And that's what the Bruins are pissed at, because obviously if the refs had, like, this is a very fast sport. We know that. And I know for a fact, for me watching live, from home, that definitely looked like just a collision, with 2 players. There's no way live watching it you would have seen that, swing of the fist by Bennett. There's no way. So I think when you look at it, there definitely was a swing of the fist. No question about it. There's people saying it probably should have been a penalty on Bennett, no doubt. Suspension, I don't know. That's a little rough saying that there should have been a suspension. It wasn't like a vicious right hand, But at the end of the day, I understand a little bit why the Bruins are a little pissed. Now you've got to funnel that energy and bring it to the ice tonight. It's one thing to be angry. You've lost your captain. Yeah, you should be angry. That's your captain. He got a punch there. But when you look at it, it's frustrating. You got to channel it the right way, though, here if you're Boston. You got to come to the ice tonight and bring it on the ice and start the game on time, which clearly you did not do. I like that Montgomery finally took some responsibility. A lot of times, and Jimmy Murphy's been a proponent of this as well, where too many times Jim Montgomery is blaming the goalie coach for what happened last year with the goaltending decisions in the Florida series, blaming Pasternak early in the Toronto after Game 6 in the Toronto series. He's got to step up. There's been very little instances of Jim Montgomery saying, whoa, I fucked up. I need to coach better. I need to be better. And finally, he did that after Game 3. And I think that was the right time. You need to have your players back, at this time. You can't be saying, oh, this guy stinks. He needs to step up. He needs this. He needs that. No, you need them to come through for you here in a game tonight that you have to win. So you can't be doing that shit anymore. You've got to take some bullets, as Jimmy would say. And he did that after Game 3. He said, you know what? I didn't have them ready to play. I didn't have them ready to start that game properly. That's on me. I take responsibility. I take ownership for that. I think that's positive for Boston going into Game 4 tonight, that the coach said, hey, I didn't have them ready to go. Now, again, none of this matters if Boston doesn't improve their start and get off to a good start here tonight. We'll see if that is indeed going to be the case. There's a couple ways I'm going about this here with this game tonight. I'm going to take Boston money line first period plus 125 in this game. I don't trust them for the 60. I don't, flat out. I don't. I think Florida's the better team. This could be a situation kind of like last night where, and look, credit to, it's funny that last night was so strange. Dallas, Colorado, I think I nearly lost every bet. Rangers, Carolina, I won every bet last night, pretty much. That Rangers-Carolina game, we scripted that thing perfectly. Like, we had that game flow and that game script nailed completely. I took, obviously, Carolina first period puck line, Carolina to score in the first period. But I also had Rangers team total over 2.5, which cashed even though they lost the game, and the full game over. So it was a complete and utter, just nailed it. Just everything about that game, we got it right on the head with that Rangers-Hurricanes game. We nailed it with that game last night. This game, early, Boston's got to be good. Get on the board early. So I don't mind taking them in the first period, but that's it. That's it. Just first period. Because look, if they're not good in the first period, they are losing. They are losing this hockey game. If they are in one of these situations where, they have a slow start and let's say, and maybe even trailing again after the first period, like they were in Game 1, they're not going to win this hockey game. They're just not. If it's not going to come in the first period for Boston tonight, it's not going to come at all. That's the way you got to see it here in this one. So, like I said, I'm based on the situations at hand, based on now that's 2 straight games where you've been shellacked, based on Marchand's absence, and I think that's going to have them riled up early. They should have the inspiration now. Your captain got knocked out, not playing. You need this game badly. Show up in the first 20 minutes, something you did not do in the last game. Let's see if, and that's all I'm hearing too from Boston, is the start has to be better. The start has to be better. We have to be ready from puck drop. And again, that doesn't always mean you're going to play well right from the start. You're playing a damn good team, a team that I still think might be better than you at the end of the day here, Florida. But in the first period, I do think Boston's got to show that punch. You're getting a good price. Now that the betting public and the betting markets have completely and utterly, soured on the Bruins a little bit, you're able to get a pretty solid price here in the plus 125 vicinity here with Boston in the first period. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to split it up too with Boston to score in the first period, which is often an angle that's been good. Losing team scoring the next game. It hasn't been so good for Boston the last 2, but this is it for Boston. They know it. We go down 3-1. They came back on us 3-1 down last year. I don't think we're good enough, and they're too good to come back from down 3-1. I think they know that. So, like I said, Boston, is only a cheap minus 125 to score in the first period. I'll split that up with the first period money line on Boston here, plus 125. And look, As far as the total is concerned, I'm a little surprised, actually, we've seen 3 overs in this series. I did not expect that because these can be two very defensive-minded teams. These can be two very good goaltenders, obviously, when you talk about both sides, Bobrovsky for Florida and the Allmark and Swayman combination. We don't have goaltending confirmed yet for Boston. We don't. So I still think there's a chance they turn to Allmark because of his strong track record against Florida. And because, finally Swayman, that cloak of invincibility is gone. But again, that hasn't been confirmed yet. But, normally in a playoff series, when 3 straight games go over, you're going to see an adjustment in the total. We have not seen that here in this series. So for that reason, I'm going to look over 5.5 plus 100, just the over full game, because first period, I don't know if the first period goes over. Remember, first period did go under in game 3 of this series. In fact, the first period has gone under, I think, more often than not in this series, but the full games have all gone over. So just a full game over here, plus 105 with that. And I'm also on the Boston first period money line, first period score and goal split here as well in this game tonight with the Panthers and the Bruins. And my plan is, by the way, I should point this out as well. My plan is if Boston's up 1-0, or hell, even if it's scoreless or they don't cap, if they're up, that's going to be the best dream scenario for me. If they're up and leading at any point after the first period, but whatever the margin is, but if Boston's leading after the first period, I will bet Florida live. I will, because you're going to get a good price at that point. We know Florida. They're not out of a game. We know Boston earlier at one point in the season was terrible holding leads. That's another thing. So I will be interested in Florida live, a Florida live look at some point, especially if Boston's leading after the first period. So that's the approach for me. For props here, I think it's got to be a game where with Marchand out, Pastrnak, has got to have his fingerprints all over this hockey game. So I like Pasta over shots. Maybe find the back of the net as well, but it's at least over shots on goal. Fire that puck. You've got to be involved offensively. So I think Pastrnak over shots is a very good prop here in this game, and anything involving him. Maybe you look toward Geeky. You look toward Coyle. These are guys that have got it. DeBrusque. These are guys that have got to get it done tonight for the Boston Bruins, flat out. If they are going to make this a series. And then for Florida, look, Barkov keeps getting assists. The Barkov assist prop looks good. And the guys that score the goals, look, Montour, you got to go back to Montour again. There's something about him playing the Boston Bruins where, he just plays well. He matches up well. He does damage against this team. He's now scored in back-to-back games for the Florida Panthers. So not just any point props for Montour, but the goal prop, you're still getting this wonderful price, plus 400, plus 500 even in some spots, for Brandon Montour to score a goal. We really haven't seen that adjusted very much entering tonight's game 4. So I think you have to keep going back to the well with that. Yeah, I'm seeing Montour still at plus 550 at FanDuel. My goodness. And this guy has just had a huge series against Boston last year. He's now scored in back-to-back games for the Panthers in this series. So, yeah, absolutely. I think that could be worth a look. Something tells me, just to piss off the Bruins fans, and he's going to be public enemy number 1. I could see Sam Bennett scoring. I completely agree with that. I know Cuban Wayne Gretzky in our chat likes Bennett. Yeah, I think when you look at it, plus 350 at FanDuel for Sam Bennett, to score. I don't mind taking a shot with that here. Either. All right, next up, we've got West semifinal, game 3. This has been one hell of a series, and I mean one hell of a series so far, Vancouver and Edmonton. You had the crazy third period comeback by the Vancouver Canucks in game 1. You obviously saw an overtime game in game 2 where the Oilers were down 3-2 going into the third period, tied it in the third, won it on an Evan Bouchard goal in overtime. So this has been a tremendous series so far. Series tied 1-1 going back to Edmonton. We've got Edmonton minus 190 home favorites, 6.5 the total here in this game tonight. Edmonton, obviously, we know at home, pretty prolific. They get the matchups the way they want. They get the chance to get McDavid and his line in particular away from, the number one, shutdown line for Vancouver. So that's definitely going to be an advantage for Chris Knobloch going into this game tonight, no question. But I think when you look at the matchup too overall here tonight with the Canucks and the Oilers, every time the Canucks, response to adversity level gets questioned, they answer the bell. And it wouldn't shock me if that happens tonight. We'll see how this one goes. But, in what's I think going to be a very back and forth series, I don't think, even though that was a tremendous third period for the Oilers, and that was the best they've looked 5-on-5 by far, like they were taking it to Vancouver at even strength in the third period of game 2. I don't think by any means that means Edmonton's just going to run away and hide for the rest of this series. I think that is something you definitely want to make note of, because let's keep in mind, Vancouver played in Edmonton twice during the regular season, and Vancouver won both games. In fact, you go back to last year, and look, Vancouver wasn't very good at this time still last year, December 23rd, 2022. This was before Rick Tocchet came on board. They went to Edmonton and they beat the Oilers 5-2. So they've actually won 3 straight times in this building, the Vancouver Canucks. So I'm taking a shot with them at plus 170 tonight. I just think, they're off a loss. I expect a good response. Vancouver's been one of these teams so far in the playoffs where they lose, they come back, and they respond in a good fashion. The 2 losses they suffered against Nashville, bounced back and won the very next game, both times. Now, again, Edmonton's another step up as far as, the quality of the opponent is concerned. But my goodness, I mean, we're pricing this game tonight like Edmonton's just walking all over Vancouver. I think it's just a little bit too expensive here on Edmonton. I don't mind taking that, plus 170. Artur Shilov's, I thought, in a losing effort, was outstanding. I said it when we recapped game 2 on the show yesterday. Artur Shilov's was better in the loss in game 2 than he was in the win in game 1. He was outstanding in the third period. So, like I said, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. But I think the value is on Vancouver's side. I think this game and this series, what I've seen so far, is closer than putting Edmonton out there as a minus 190 home favorite here tonight in game 3. And that's the crux of why I'm taking Vancouver, because I think this game and this series is closer than Edmonton being a minus 190 favorite here tonight in this game. I'm also going to sprinkle on Vancouver to score in the first period, which obviously they were able to do in game 2 of this series. And again, you're getting a really good price on the because Vancouver's a bigger dog here tonight. The first period prop on Vancouver to score a goal is only minus 140. So you get a little bit of a better price with that. And I'm going to go back to the well with the over trifecta in this game as well. Talking about how, again, I don't want to, be repetitive here, but again, when you're talking about the same 2 teams game after game in a playoff series, you're going to repeat some things, but there's no hiding it. It's been an over series. You go back again to the start of last year between these 2 teams, and 8 of the last 9 meetings between the Canucks and the Oilers have had at least 6 goals, and the majority of them have gone over the total. So, like I said, we're going to go back to the well here with the over trifecta as well. So we're going to sprinkle, we're going to split, we're going to have Vancouver money line split with Vancouver to score in the first period. We're going to have over trifecta, which is, of course, over 1.5, which you can get right now at minus 135. Both teams to score in the first period, which is a nice, plus 160, plus 170 price in that range at FanDuel, and also over 6.5 for the full game here with the Canucks and the Oilers. By the way, it's worth noting, too, about Edmonton here in the playoffs. 3 home games in the playoffs. Now, they were all in the Los Angeles series, but 3 home games in the first round for the Oilers against the Kings. All 3 went over the total. 7-4, 5-4, 4-3. So all 3 of them had at least 7 goals, their home games against the Kings in the first round. So, like I said, over trifecta, a little piece of Vancouver money line, plus 170. And also a little bit on Vancouver to score in the first period. And then as far as player props for this game are concerned, you look at Vancouver. there's definitely Miller and Besser are the headliners. They're almost at that point where you trust them to be good every game, make an impact every game, get chances every game. Now the question is, can you score on them? That's the other question. But definitely it starts with the two of them. Very interesting that Rick Tocchet might be, at least from what I read yesterday, he might be sitting down Höglander. We'll have to wait and see on that. But I know he wasn't thrilled with Höglander's first two games. We'll have to wait and see. I have not seen adjustments yet, but there's talk that Nils Aman might come into the lineup for the Canucks. We'll see if that is indeed the case. But Pius Suter still has value, in my opinion, too, because it looks like he's still going to be up there with Miller and with Besser here in Game 3 for Vancouver. But it looks like there's going to be some lineup shakeup. Let's put it this way. If Höglander's out, someone's going to have to take the Pettersson-Mikheyev spot on that second line in place of Höglander. Whoever that is, there's going to be value. So stay tuned. Watch to see who's going to be on that second line for Vancouver, and then go from there. I think that's the way to go. For Edmonton, it looks like tonight, again, they had the McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman. Looks like they're probably going to stay together. Because it worked well for the Oilers again in Game 1. Henrique, Nugent Hopkins, and Kane on the second line. Fogle, McLeod, and Perry on the third line. Holloway, Ryan, and Janmark, the fourth line. It looks like right now for the Edmonton Oilers. But, right now on home ice, I think Zach Hyman scored in every home game. So don't be surprised if Zach Hyman gets it rolling again for Edmonton on home ice. He'll find a way to produce. I think Adam Henrique, there's still value because he's up there with Nugent Hopkins and with Evander Kane. Fogle got dropped to the third line when Knobloch decided to load up the top line with both Leon and Connor McDavid on it. So keep an eye on that. Rocco Rogers is in here every day talking about Matthias Ekholm. You better start putting some respect on his name because he's now got a goal in back-to-back games for the Edmonton Oilers. He's jumping into the play. He is shooting the puck more. In fact, you go back to the latter part of the regular season, he's had a lot of games where he's had at least 2 shots on goal, which for a defenseman, that's a lot of shots. And he's had some where he's had even 4 and 5 shots. And again, he scored in back-to-back games for the Edmonton Oilers. So, like I said, Matthias Ekholm, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And again, you're not getting a huge adjustment either in his goal prop. Plus 700. Yeah, they've adjusted it slightly. But again, for a guy that's now scored in back-to-back games for the Edmonton Oilers from the blue line, that plus 700 is it's just sticking out like a sore thumb. There's no doubt. Sam Lafferty, Cuban Wayne Gretzky. I've noticed that. Last game especially, he had some chances. He's 10-1. Plus 1,000 at FanDuel to score tonight. Let's see where he is in the lineup. Does he get moved up? Is he a candidate maybe to move up if Höglander gets bumped down or scratched? Keep an eye on that. Maybe Lafferty's going to get the promotion. I think Lafferty deserves a promotion. I thought he was very good in Game 2. Had a bunch of chances for the Vancouver Canucks. So that's at that value again, especially if he's up the lineup. That might be something to look at with Lafferty because he certainly had some good looks to find the back of the net in Game 2 for the Vancouver Canucks. So a very entertaining Game 3 tonight. We're looking forward to it. We expect Shelovs and Skinner to be the goaltenders once again here tonight. The only question in the 2 games tonight about goaltending is who's in net for Boston. I think it's going to be Linus Ullmark, but I don't want to say for sure. It hasn't been confirmed yet. So as of right now, it's unconfirmed for Boston. I think it'll be Ullmark, but again, we don't know that for sure as of yet. All right. And one thing I forgot to say about the Florida-Boston series, it ain't just the players going at it. Like the media of the respective teams is going at it. I saw Jimmy Murphy and George Richards at Marchand incident. I mean, my goodness, it's getting a little feisty with the media as well in the Bruins and Panthers series. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the Game 4 is there tonight. It's funny. That's another reason why I think that full game over, again, 3-0 to the over in that series, it's probably got a chance to once again be a game that goes up and over the full game because, look, Game 3 was not very chippy. I thought there was a decline in the physicality in Game 3 compared to Game 2 when things kind of went off the rails. I think on the heels of the Marchand and Bennett incident in Game 3, I think you're going to see that physicality and a lot of scrums after the whistle, all that stuff. I think you're going to see it ramped up tonight. So there could be a lot of penalties, could be a lot of power plays, and that's usually good things for people that are betting it over. All right, good stuff. We appreciate everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. Get signed up, guys. We've got not one, but 2 Patreon exclusive live betcasts this week. Tuesday night, May 14th, Thursday night, May 16th. 2 betcasts, both of them Patreon exclusive this week. So now is the time. It's like I feel like I'm Sheldon Keefe from that Leaf series against Montreal a few years ago where they did that Amazon series. Now's the time. You're not saving it for anything. Now's the fucking time. Sign up. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. $10 per month. Again, we've got 2 betcasts this week. More betcasts that are Patreon exclusive on the way as well throughout the playoffs. You have access to our daily sides, totals, and player props posted on the page each and every day. Again, bonus content in the offseason as well. The Players Suite returns, interview series, all that and more. Make sure you sign up. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. And check out the Ice Guys store as well. Get your gear and your merch over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bet coming up right after we hear from our great sponsors. All right, Boston Hemp Inc. Make sure you check them out. Get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this Sunday NHL slate. And look, I'm going to go to I guess you could call this the Rocco Rogers special. I actually think it is one of the best goal props on the board tonight in the 2 games. He's scored in back-to-back games. He's jumping up into the play for the Edmonton Oilers. Matthias Ekholm, the Viking, the Viking warrior, because he looks like one with that big friggin' beard of his. Matthias Ekholm for the Edmonton Oilers, plus 700, at BetMGM. Again, goals in back-to-back games. Sometimes you wonder when players like this just all of a sudden spring up and start scoring, you think, is this a fluke? Is this just a fluke all of a sudden for Matthias Ekholm? But you look at the shots on goal numbers. He's pounding the puck. He's getting into the rush. They're looking for him. He's looking for his offense. So there's a lot of sense to it, in my opinion. So looking for his 3rd straight game in this Vancouver-Edmonton series with a goal, Matthias Ekholm, plus 700 for my bargain bin special of the night. Oh, shit, I forgot to put the graphic up. There we go. Matthias Ekholm, plus 700 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets for this Sunday slate. I am going to rock with, let me see here for best bet. Let's go back to Vancouver, Edmonton over 6.5. I mean, I had that as a best bet for game 1 and for game 2 of this series. I don't see what changes here. Like I said, 8 of the 9 meetings have been 6 or more goals. We've seen the over cash more often than not. Edmonton's 3-0 to the over on home ice so far here in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So Vancouver, Edmonton over 6.5, minus 105. That is going to be my best bet for this Sunday NHL slate. That's a wrap. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms: Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and we will be back with you tomorrow on Monday for another edition of the Ice Guys.